Okay. Let's see if the audio works. I won't do this if my voice dies. Test. Test. Oof, beautiful. All right, let's try. 4 a.m. I don't know if I will do it or not. I'm shooting it back. Oh, the sexy kind. Okay, let's see what we got here. Sparkling water that will help me. Water. Okay, so obviously your chart is fucked up. Joking. Um, no. So yeah, you know, 12th house, Virgo. I'll go back between the different types of houses. It's interesting that you have no water, but you have water houses. Um, Neptune trines, so it kind of makes up for it a bit. But I mean, obviously, the thing that stands out is the parents and the Saturn opposite Sun and square moon, T square, that shoots out in Cancer, which is an amazing metaphor for your whole chart, North Node in Libra. So, 10th house. So it's really just talking about how, everything with your parents, all the restrictions, just the overall energy, you still have this, ability to, you probably imagine moved out very, very young. Um, uh, yeah. And a lot of times with like the outer planets, like not just Neptune, even Uranus down there, I feel like people have seen it where they almost like don't have good memories of their childhood, like they over idealize or under idealize. It's very interesting. Or just like, yeah, the memories are just like off. But the cool thing is that even with the Capricorn moon, which I always say, the Capricorn moon is, the person has to be vulnerable and be able to express their emotions. I think we talked about this in Cosmos. Um, when they're able to do that, it's this process of liquefaction. It's liquefaction of the crystallized emotional patterns of a Capricorn moon. Now you don't have the average Capricorn moon, you have Jupiter there. So the image I get is you in childhood, not understood, very, you know, parents really wanting you to be something you weren't. And, just the difficulty and the Saturnian lessons and restrictions there. It's almost like they're like teaming against you. Very, very like, you know, ancestral kind of trauma that's generation after generation seems like. Um, However, having Jupiter on your moon is amazing. And especially, where it is, it gives this ability to have a positive perspective or a grand perspective. Um, so yes, you're a Capricorn moon, but it kind of gives like a Sag moon vibe, openness, like a kind of mix. And yeah, whenever things get really tough, you're still able to have this like deep perspective that really helps you. And like you can never be completely pushed down. Things can be really bad, but you have this kind of like glass half full energy to you, which is awesome. Um, so I think that probably Jupiter probably really, really helped you, growing up when you didn't have things like cosmos or astrology or psychology, friends that align with you and, you know, all that. Um, but yeah, like obviously there's perfectionism, as you probably know, all over this chart. And I think that being able to have a positive energy towards your parents, regardless of what's happened and um kind of the tendencies, right? Like I think we talked about like you being your mom's mom, and I would have said that regardless of knowing that or not. um, is it square? I knew it. You see, I didn't have to fucking look. My head. I was thinking, is the moon square the nodes? Yep. So yeah, you guys trade off past life to past life. Um, mom, daughter, mom, daughter, mom, daughter, and it just will keep going until someone breaks the chain where it's just like you can still have the boundaries. I know, you want to do the work, they don't, but just being able to have that love and compassion. That's why I always tell people do like a writing exercise, write a letter um that you burn or whatever. Like when I wrote my book, I was surprised by how when I started writing about the contributions that my parents gave me, or just like what I took from each parent, I was blown away by how much I had to write that wasn't conscious. So that's always really really interesting to do and find, like, let's say a parent's a narcissist, being able to look at their parents and their parents, like the whole thing, and just like engage. Like my dad, um, his dad or my grandpa is kind of a narcissist, kind of, you know, he's created very bad relationships with the children. And I told my dad, I was like, do you think he really wants to be like that? Like that's just pure suffering. Buddhism, like that's pure suffering, right? Everyone wants to have good relationships with their children. So like imagine how, you know, um difficult that must be on a, you know, deeply unconscious level. So um I would say, yeah, I mean, just with the T square, um, it's like you're getting hit by both parents, but then at the same time, it shoots out in Cancer. And that is just, like I said, um, Capricorn moons, when they can just speak their feelings, speak their emotions, all that, magic happens. And I see it very positive in females' charts. I see a lot of really good Capricorn moon, but in men's charts, I can see it very difficult. It's very difficult because men, they grow up, they're not, supposed to be speaking about their emotions. I know it's still hard for women, it takes time to open up, but the more Capricorn moon, um, like even in Cosmos, you're speaking about your suffering. That's like the magic for the Capricorn moon. Um, but yeah, I think like having the Jupiter there is very, very good because you're enabled you to have that perspective. Now, with that said, um, having, Capricorn, Jupiter, Moon, Virgo, Sun, um, with Saturn, obviously, hard aspect of both, it is difficult. And, obviously in psychology, the interjects that can be unconscious and just floating around the head, those voices of you're not good enough, you're unlovable, these types of, interjects, or these types of, self-limiting beliefs that can be very unconscious, right? That's the whole thing with the stuck karmic, and it could be even something in fourth house, that's third process, that you're kind of the one in your family who is meant to break this, right? And then, when you have kids, being able to kind of be what your parents weren't able to be for you. So it's very, very powerful. Um, but still, you are your worst enemy in the sense, someone who has so many of these placements, right? It's like, um, I always say, like, the very earthy people, like, they see themselves here and other people here, but in reality, it's the opposite. So, um, obviously, service and, you know, diving, the 12th house kind of energy of the collective unconscious, and I think that the more the school you're doing, and the more that you're able to kind of help people, right? Whether it's through psychology, astrology, whatever, right? Once you're really, really full in, like all the way in, doing that, helping people on that level, that's going to be a game changer completely, right? Um, so so yeah, and the reason yeah, so the moon square nodes is very interesting. I just think that as a Capricorn moon, yeah, there's just a lot of yeah, a lot of stuck emotional patterns that, like I was saying, it's lots of unresolved issues with the family of origin, um, lots of kind of past life replays. And I think a lot of it is around the emotional body, right? So if you think about the T square shooting out, right here, whether you say ninth house or 10th house, um, the whole point is that, you know, embracing all the emotions, feeling them all, that's the key. And sixth house Pisces, right? So Neptune ruling is six. You obviously want to have spirituality in your day-to-day life. So what you're doing is very good. Um, and I don't think you would do well in, a type of career that, I don't think you, it's not that you would do well. I don't think that you would be happy in something where you're not able to feel that 12th house collective unconscious oneness in your day-to-day life. I think meditation and just, it's a very spiritual chart right off the bat. And as you know, me and you have opposite suns, 28 Pisces and Virgo. So, you know, sometimes Virgos are the most spiritual people. Sometimes they act more Pisces than Pisces. And especially in the 12th house, the Libra rising, everything flipped. So you're dealing with a lot of polarities here. And with the axis, Mercury retrograde also is your Chiron in, is but yeah, overall, I think that um, feeling very misunderstood, but you're definitely a channel, um, definitely a channel for downloads, and you know, Neptune trining Mercury retrograde in Virgo. I mean, makes it kind of feel almost Piscean, um, in a sense, and the 12th house especially. So obviously, you know, the mother, primary caregiver, like that's a big thing, a skip step. And with the Uranus on the IC, of course, there can be that desire to just run away, but and boundaries are needed, right? But just in your heart to be able to have love and compassion and just not, I don't want to use the word hate, but just not deep resentment, and be able to like see, okay, they weren't perfect parents at all. However, you know, I'm here to break this shit. Um, is huge, right? And what can happen is that um, there can be projection um onto significant others. So like you know, the pain and the anything unresolved in the family, can kind of be pushed on to not just significant others, but just people in your life, even family, right? Um, so yeah, a lot of times there is this like kind of insecurity there. And sometimes there can be even unresolved gender issues, when you see that. Um, I know you've talked about being like with men feeling like they like what do you say? That they see you as like a threat or like like in a masculine way or something. Um, so yeah, I think it just creates like a very strong woman. Um, but yeah, there can definitely have been a recent gender shift, recent incarnations. So yeah, a lot of people who have that type of thing, that sometimes they identify more with the opposite sex. In some ways, obviously you're a female, but you get what I'm saying. So, mm, mm, mm. I mean, yeah. So like tons of firepower. Obviously like your strong Mars and Leo in the midheaven is, with Venus also. It's a very strong placement, very go-getter energy. Um, the thing is, though, if you weren't allowed to express that Leo energy early on, if when you try to be your authentic self, it was pushed away. That's obviously a lifelong um, challenge or a lifelong battle, right? To be in the inner child, to be in that Leo lightness and lightheartedness. And I think that's kind of going hand in hand with this Saturn energy, right? So you haven't hit your return. When you do, things will make a lot more sense. Everything was very Saturnian charts. Saturn always gets better with age. So hang in there. Um, I've seen a lot of people with Saturnian charts really like on an energetic level, their lives just change around the return. Um, especially with very Saturnian people. Um, and with relationships, I know you've talked about that, you know, that being the seventh and whole sign. It's really good for people who have seventh house Saturn to not get married before the return, because then it transits over. And a lot of people who do that get divorces or whatever. So I've seen it a million times where the seventh house Saturn people, um, they have a lot of their serious relationships post return. And before that, it's like this build up. It can be frustrating as fuck, but yeah, it's just how it is. Um, so yeah, cancer is the cure to everything, not not the cancer of disease, but um, if we talk about 10th house, it's like, yeah, in your career, right? Being able to do psychology, astrology, all that stuff, and really, really help people at a deep level, that's helping you, as you know. Ninth house, if you look at it like that, we can think about how um, through wisdom and knowledge and um, just always being open minded and kind of taking in all different types of information and wisdom, it actually has an effect, a positive effect for you with respect to the family and respect to your own emotions and your own spiritual, emotional relationship with yourself, right? So it seems like everything I know about you that you're pretty much right on track. Um, we know that the 12th house can be the house of repressed energies. Um, so people who weren't given, with the Saturn, they can be very, very strict and very, very, yeah. It's like this first 30 years where you're just trying to kind of separate and find yourself and kind of really look at these voices, these voices from childhood that said this or said that, and being able to kind of separate from them, being able to see them for what they are, which is hard, easier said than done. Um, and yeah, I mean these energies can be very, very strong, 12th house, and they can be the strongest energies in the chart, but they early on weaker energies. So yeah, I think like really unleashing in your career, I think, you will, really want to shine and really want to do things differently. I know with your thesis already. Um, and I think that the 11th house aspect of it is just, a major life goal that is it takes time. So Saturn asks us for patience, right? And for learning the karmic lessons. So yeah. I think also there's a real ability to um to research and to really express yourself, um express your emotions. I think having cat moon the third is quite nice because you're able to have a better chance than most to really express your emotions and express that even if it takes time for it to come out. um so I don't want to pull Placidus, but yeah, so nodes, obviously south node Aries with Saturn. I always think of that as the person who is, powerhouse, past life powerhouse. It is very masculine as well, right? It's like I always think of that as like in modern day equivalent is the person who just um was very much, in square Jupiter, very much in the material world, kind of like a boss bitch energy. um and the square to Jupiter and to the moon, obviously, the skip karmic steps with Jupiter is around faith. So I see this a lot, and I always say it's like, whatever happened in your past lives, the ones you're dealing with, you were pushed in a situation that pushed you away from understanding truth, high truth, right? High wisdom. Hold on, I need to throw my shoe away. So, that's not always easy. Um, and I think that on some level, just finding your yeah, it's just like it just points to that ninth house, right? Where, you know, you were definitely like just imagine a past life where you were like like I like to give modern day equivalents, like just the CEO, super involved in the sixth house, right? It's working. Um, and it's quite material, like material world energy. And it's like imagine if you were like CEO, is super like the authority figure in society. Um, like imagine someone like working like a very matrix, I don't know, matrixy rat race job, right? Finance or something like that. They might not necessarily be looking at their spiritual growth. Um, so yeah, it's like, with Jupiter, it's about beliefs, right? Um, and different, philosophies and teachings that you took on and your relationship to truth and to faith, to God overall. So I think one way you can look at it is having some type of issue, a karmic issue with honesty, right? Um, whether that's like how um, like an inner lie told to the self, or just like some conditioning around the truth. Um, so yeah, it's really about seeing things clearly. And you can imagine like where you're at right now, how different it would be if you weren't on this path. You know what I mean? But you could also see how everything in your chart has pushed you to this path. You didn't have parents you have, the upbringing you had. Um, would you really be interested in all these all of spirituality and all that, and psychology, and really trying to understand what makes people work um, beneath the surface and all that. Um, so yeah, I think yeah, it's all about belief systems and faith, and yeah, like just yeah, past life teachings and ideals that you followed that led to like this crisis of faith, right? Um, and then it leads to that person kind of in past lives like just not really understanding their place in the greater scheme of all that there is, right? Which can lead someone to be quite alienated. So yeah, I think overall, um, with the South Node where it is with Saturn, oops, what just happened? Yeah, why is it so zoomed in on me? I think that, you know, North Node's with is I mean it's not conjunct Chiron, but it's I use pretty big orbs for the nodes. And you're here, yeah, to be, and I think even like Libra, can be about bringing people together, right? It's like very much like the diplomat, the of course there's relationship elements there too, boundaries, all that. But yeah, I think that there's just that struggle with the node with no south node with Saturn to like uh express oneself. It can make one, yeah, kind of inhibited and um not, yeah, kind of like a fear to like really express their true self, especially like in groups. And yeah, it just comes from that like very like hardworking past life karma, right? um or maybe, you know, preferring to work on your own and not really come, together with other people, which maybe kept you away from that oneness and different belief systems and being able to expose yourself. Like in Cosmos, for example, you're talking to people from all over the world, different perspectives, all that stuff, right? That's like amazing for a chart like this, right? Um, so yeah, I think that, you know, there's it's like, you know, you're still meant to be very hardworking, but it's like hardworking in the right way, right? Um, so, there's talents from past lives that were held back, but it's like in this life, you're seeing the big picture, you're understanding truth more and more, you're open-minded, and your awareness grows all the time. And I think when you're working with clients and really as a Capricorn moon, that's the biggest thing. Um, and that's why like when you're in school still, it's like you're nearly there and it's probably going to align perfectly with your Saturn return, isn't it? Isn't that magical? Right? It's like you're so close, you're so close. I know I don't know exactly how much longer you have in school, but I know that you're in your thesis and um, you know, I would imagine probably around your Saturn return is when you'll start to like really fully like be seeing clients and getting all of the benefits from that, right? And who knows, in what way that could be, could be as an astrologer, it could be, I mean, like, obviously psychologist, but you never know. It's endless, right? And you've had like with Saturn, like I said, Saturn gets always gets better with age. Um, so yeah, it's like taking that talent, South Node, Saturn, that ability to work super hard and just be a boss, but uh, you know, pushing it more towards away from Saturn materialism to um, Chiron healing, wounded healer. So yeah, I would say like with like I was saying with the Uranus, I see a lot of people like yeah, it's just very unconventional and very, very freedom loving. And yeah, they want to leave their home early usually, and um, they but like it's like I see this a lot where it's like they leave their home so early, but then it's like they still have to figure out that karma or it family karma, right? And remember, I said this doesn't have to be like a kumbaya with your parents. It could just be, finding that love in your heart, which I know you have. I'm saying like, that understanding or the resentments where you see like, okay, if I didn't have these parents, if I was in this family, would I really be able to be where I'm at right now? If everything was all good and all like that, right? Which is a tough, it's to tough pill to swallow, but it makes sense in time. Um, and obviously Uranus icy opposite midheaven, so it's like I think of like the root chakra and just like obviously having the earth helps with that groundedness and whatnot. But yeah, whenever like I have Pluto there, so it's like whenever I see that, I'm like, okay, there can be that tendency to want to like run away, but you're with the career is opposing the midheaven, the Dharma cannot be fully maximized unless one goes back, right? And your part of fortune is there too. So, it's an Aquarius. So it's like, um, you know, it just speaks to like you being in your flow state when you are having that spiritual relationship with yourself, when you're going deep within your own unconscious and doing the work and liquefying those the stuck crystallized emotional patterns of the cat moon and giving back Aquarius, right? Like and working with others, like-minded people, finding people that you connect with on that deep level that you can work with, or at least see eye to eye with, right? So yeah. And I think like I'll flip to past in a sec, but just there could be issues. Yeah, I mean, like whenever I see a 12th house sun, I'm always like, okay, the dad was either, not there physically or metaphorically, not supportive, especially with with the Saturn opposition. Could have been lots of, difficult arguments, like feeling like with Saturn, like you're trying to move forward, 2 steps forward, and then you get pushed 3 steps back, right? And it can be very discouraging. Um, like very, very strict, kind of imposing father, right? So, um, the restrictions, they just continue, and it creates this with Saturnians, right? It creates this like this drive. That's why so many Saturnians are so successful, because it's like the first 30 years they have all this bullshit, and after that it goes away. Not like completely, but you get what I'm saying. Like it eases, and then suddenly you're stuck with you're not stuck. You're like you have all this like hard work and this ability to get past setbacks without the bullshit setbacks anymore, right? So you keep the determination, all that, but then the universe lays off a little bit. So yeah, I think a big part of it is like, yeah, really creating your own rules and building your life based off of your own ideals and beliefs, and just not giving a fuck, if it's different, because you know they'll whether they respect you or not, whether it doesn't matter, because what you're going to do is going to be great, and you always have to remember the metaphysical value of what you're doing is the most important thing. Mm. um so yeah, I love that Jupiter on your moon. um like I really do, and I think you know it definitely does give, like I said, that optimism, adventurous, like I said, it's like gives like a Sag moon kind of taste with the Capricorn. So yes, your Cat moon, but that Jupiter conjunction is like less than a degree. It's so strong, and I think that has helped you so much in your life, because you're able to go through tough times and still see the big picture. Um, Mhm. So yeah, I think like the moon, yeah, overall, um, yeah, just being able to kind of, and even like having Neptune where it is, right? Fourth house, whole sign. It's like that. I see that a lot with people who, yeah, like I said, over idealize or under idealize, or even can't remember their childhood, right? And yeah, just really going back. I know it's not fun, but yeah, just kind of like trying to like really get everything make sense, have everything make sense, and not having a negative, pessimistic victim view of it, right? Seeing it as a part of the whole. And yeah. So of course, like I said, relationships, lots of lessons in love with Saturn there. Um, I think South Node, seventh house, lots of karma in relationship to relationships. But like Saturn seventh house can really make one on a deep level, especially with like connected to parents, like really fear that commitment in relationships, right? Because of like being very overwhelmed by those one-on-one relationships early on. So, you learn a lot about your deep unconscious and the growth you need to have through your intimate relationships. Um, and yeah, just like overall, just like being able to like, rely on yourself and have patience in life and just know that this is all part of what you're here to do. Um, so yeah. Hmm. So yeah, I think like it's twitching. I think like yeah, like with the Mercury retrograde, sometimes I always think like that can maybe it's yeah, yeah. I think what can happen with that is that what is this like 15% of people or something like that. Um, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it, right? But um, from from my view, I see it as the mind is turned inward, and it can make one kind of like go over lots of like um, prior events, and um, it's very based more in the subconscious rather than the conscious mind. Um, so it is usually more um, right brain than left brain. Um, am I saying that correctly? But yeah, it's more about the essence and the details, but then the fact that it's in Virgo kind of gives you the best of both worlds. Um, logic and intuition. Um, but yeah, just like in the 12th, like really being able to tap into like the collective unconscious and have this innate understanding of things. Like I told you, your reading was I still haven't finished it. It's on my list. I have a weird way of when I get readings. Like, I don't know. Um, I literally wrote it down just like earlier today. My calendar, agenda. Um, but yeah, it's very interesting. Because it can make you feel very misunderstood and like it can be quite frustrating. So once again, yeah, having people who get you is so massive. And yeah, I mean, obviously, like any kind of creative outlet is amazing. Lots of like musical geniuses or artistic geniuses have that retrograde. Um, but what I see on a karmic level is that there's gonna be a tendency to react to other people as if they symbolize someone from past lives. So there can be like this projection that's like very hard to pin down. And another way I look at the retrograde is like yeah, just the filter that you take in reality just being different and yeah, more of the internal dialogue. So imagine you as a kid, maybe there's a level of isolation, alone time, needed, which is probably I imagine still needed. Um, but yeah, um, I think always with retrogrades like that, it's like, either like there's some, the way that one thought or the one that one spoke in past lives was, either over or under wrong, like kind of so I think in your case, like with such a, the Saturn Aries, South Node, it could just be like square Jupiter, right? Um, the first 30 years, 25, whatever, you're meant to really, really be analytical about the world around you and deep within yourself so that you can kind of restructure how you want to think, how you want to speak, how you want to view the world, right? Um, and even in whole science, Pluto in the third is just like the powerhouse for being able to just like go crazy with research and very obsessive in that sense, right? And Vesta close by, I think that could, yeah, I mean that's perfect for a psychologist or someone who is here to teach, to learn and to teach in the sense of you know, true wisdom, right? True truth. So I think if you connect that to like your work, it makes perfect sense, right? Pluto, psychology, making the unconscious conscious. And I think it'll have a direct effect on you when you're working with clients. Um, and I think I started saying that before about Capricorn moons, right? It's like they have that emotional need to be valued in a sense, or to feel like what they're doing for society has a high value. So, um, yeah, I think what you're doing now and where you're headed, it's going to feel amazing. It's going to really make that Capricorn moon just very, very happy. And I think like if you add like, the Jupiter on the moon with, that Sag energy over there, it is this mix of Pluto, watery depths, um, but also always through like I could see like with clients and just like with your work, always thinking of like, okay, how does this relate to the whole? How does this, even like the session I have with this client, I just learned this, right? How does that help me understand truth? This always evolving, you know, idea of what truth is. And yeah, you're a go-getter, 1,000%. Mars, midheaven, right? Like right there. Um, people with that are, they're go-getters. They have confidence in their professional life. Can be quite bold. Like your thesis is very bold. I know in Romania, there's some teacher at UBB who is like told, it wasn't my teacher, I would beat his ass. But he said something like, if anyone talks about the Domnul David, if anyone talks about the horoscopes in this class, you get kicked out of the university. Some crazy shit. Some girl I was talking to back in the day from another class said that he said that. I was like, damn. Um, so yeah, I think like even with the midheaven Mars, it's like it does, it is also very reliant on, having that that solid home life. So that could be yeah, childhood, but also the home life you create, right? Um, and I think like being a fixed energy Mars fire, it's amazing because it's like you can really set your goals and go towards them. And then that's the beauty of Leo, right? Is that it's fixed fire. So it's like you can start and then continue, not like Aries, for example. Um, so yeah, I mean, very, very great leadership energy, trailblazer energy. And yeah, I feel like you work really, really hard. And I don't know if you maybe you do, but I don't know if you give yourself enough credit for how hard you work. And you're working towards something great, So yeah, like I think, maybe I would say like one thing I'm seeing is like to not overwork yourself because there could be different, stress related illnesses that can come up um if you're too obsessed with like success in a certain way, right? Um and yeah, I think what you're doing is perfect, but I think either like, you could be like an entrepreneur um someone who really is a go-getter in even psychology, right? Um, and that will have like a massive effect on your self-esteem, as I keep saying, right? So yeah, yep. So yeah, just like very good for success. I've seen a lot of Mars midheaven, and also like working out, sports, like obviously having a physical outlet is very important, I think, with that, with the Mars in Leo on an angle. And then the ruling planet Venus is there too. um hmm, I think we talked about Black Moon Lilith, didn't we? But yeah, just I'll talk about love a little bit later, love stuff. But I would say that with Venus and Leo, no, I'll get into that later. Get into that later. Hmm. So where do I go? Let's write this down. Yeah. So obviously, like, I always give the egg metaphor. The shell of the egg is Libra, the white is Virgo, the yolk inside is Capricorn. So obviously Libra, is way different than those. Um, so of course with any Libra placement, like, it could make one come off in a way, not like pushover. I know you're not that at all, but like um I just always think of yeah, people pleasing, even on some level with Libra, right? With the Chiron there too, and the North Node, where to get to the highest energy of Libra, it's the diplomat. It's a person that can be very calm and see all the different perspectives, and sit in the storm and not fall into that low Aries South Node energy of just being, way kind of overbearing, right? um it's like, yeah, really about learning to yeah, kind of just be be chill and be chilled out, relaxed, all that. um let's see here. So switch it. I find the Uranus, I see people pretty exciting because I feel like they're really good at dealing with change. A lot of people obviously struggle with that. Um, but I don't think your parents are divorced. Not sure. I don't think they are. But I think that, with your childhood and all that, I think that found a way to really be very flexible, and yeah, it creates an exciting life. Someone who is able to, obviously, like, loving the home and all that, and comfort, but also just kind of roll with the punches in life, not just the punches, just roll with the crazy changes, and see them as synchronicities as opposed to just like random fucking bullshit. Um, so with Lilith, I would say, you know, um, it's probably speaking about kind of when you're trying to express yourself in that inner child. So it speaks like the inner child need for inner child work, and being able to laugh and just let go, let loose, be a child, right? And how when you probably were a child and trying to do that, you probably got pushed away by that Saturn energy. Um, and obviously, like, the Leo Lilith can have that like strong ego if it's not able to kind of get past, you know, the pain. It can kind of just like project the ego as like a defense mechanism. Um, so you really, at the end of the day, it's like about coming to terms with who you are and your values, right? Um, and I think like with all the Leo energy there, it's like, okay, what's the high Leo, right? Courage, self-confidence, um, not being like arrogant and selfish, right? So yeah, I mean, and Black Widow and Leo, like, yeah, I mean, just especially where it is, just a very high achiever, right? But sometimes they feel on an unconscious level like the only way they can get the love and admiration is if they achieve, right? Feeling like unlovable in some ways, right? I know you said some things in Cosmos, what your parents said, which is fucked up. Um, but yeah, I think like it can definitely be an indicator of, yeah, parents who weren't able to give unconditional love, usually, the father. Um, and very like kind of abusive, like father, even like a kind of dictatorial, dominating. And yeah, love had to be earned if there was any. So I think like the big thing there is just like underestimating the self. Um, it doesn't like, I feel like you're a confident person, but I feel like it's something that maybe goes up and down, and that you have to really, really struggle with, because you didn't just have this like, this push up, right? You have to really do it on your own. You have to be your own metaphoric parent, grow up really, really fast, Capricorn moon, right? Saturn, like you had like so like this is what I'm saying. Leo, you have these energies, but I wonder if they're suppressed in a way because of you needing to kind of grow up fast and not maybe be able to really enjoy childhood. So yeah, I can definitely create a shy person. Um, what else can I say? I think also like there could be like, feeling like you were shamed when you wanted attention, not allowed to feel special. Um, just like, yeah, that rejection of that Leo energy, that, yeah, well, it's gonna have an effect on the self-confidence, obviously, right? And um a lot of people will, obviously, it's not a planet, right? It's just a potential. They'll, like I said, they'll throw that strong ego and arrogance, to mask up the insecurity. So and that goes back to that need with the whole Cancer energy I'm talking about, right? T square, of being able to admit vulnerability and tap into like the more soft side of the nature. Um, I'd say like other things about that would just, yeah, just like avoid drama. Um, and I don't think this is you at all, but just like even with like Saturn conjunct the nodes, like there can be like sometimes it's like past life, like entering this life and feeling like I deserve this, I deserve that. I don't think necessarily think that's you. I just see that with a lot of people. Um, like thinking that they should be treated as like royalty or something. Um, so yeah, just like that deep desire to be adored by everyone, right? And just knowing that that's always going to be impossible. Um, and I think like yeah, I think there's a lot of times there's like an imbalance between the feminine and the masculine, right? Um, there can be like wounding with respect to your relationship to the masculine, right? And the low energy of this is like, yeah, the arrogance, this obsession with big ego, obsession with status, that need to be adored too much, right? So yeah, it's like the kid that's like, look at me, look at me, look at me. So um yeah. And then when we talk about love, right, we see how like, I think you said something about like what you said about being too much, or that's like the feedback, too intense. I think you said that. Um, what I notice with people who have like tough energy with the parents is sometimes that in the relationship, especially with Saturn there, I mean, be easy on yourself. It's like Saturn seventh house. I don't care if it's whole sign Placis. It's like, it's not easy. It's not easy. Like, um, it's not easy first 30, you know, years or so. Um, and usually like the relationships that do come up are not the best, but then things happen. You're just like, damn, what just happened? Who did I just meet? And I think it goes along with your energetic body when you're really doing this work, right? Helping people. I think that the energetic body and the aura and all that, it just completely shifts. So you're like at the final end of this marathon, right? And yeah. Um, so yeah, unlocking the Leo, right? Doing things that you enjoy, passions, fun, getting out of your comfort zone. And, like the career will be great. You'll shine, you'll be a boss, you'll be, innovative, you'll be fearless, there'll be people you're competing, right? Where it's like they haven't had to go through the shit you've had to go through. And it just gets better and better with age. That's a Babylonian thing. Saturn gets better and better with age. But yeah, with love, if we kind of relate it back, like I was saying, there could be the coming on too strong. Is Venus unaspected? Yeah, it sextiles Chiron, but basically, so I think sometimes there can be a frustration with the Saturn there, where when I see like unaspected Venus, I sometimes think like, um, I mean, I see it a lot where it's like people who they kind of base everything on like how their relationship is going, or how, like, if they're in a relationship or if they're not. um and then also there can be like you know comparing themselves physically with other people and not being satisfied with their body and their looks and stuff like that. So yeah. Um, I think also like in your chart, like a woman could be jealous of you, and see you as threatening. And I think with that aspect of yeah, Venus, they yeah, they can feel like they like no one's interested in them and no one truly appreciates them and sees them for who they really are. And um yeah, there can be like it's just important not to fall into like the victim energy of like if things haven't worked out romantically, right? Um, but it is good, it's a good thing for money for sure. When you have lots in your chart that's good for money and just business success in general. Um, and like a Venus is an aspect that is a Venus that isn't held back. I mean, yeah, like I said, it is with there's Chiron there, which obviously is a great placement for healing. But I think also it can like kind of magnify, that Venus, the Leo Venus is I guess needs. So it can almost like magnify that need for um fire Venus, right? That need for I guess like the kind of fast paced, like fun, adventurous, grandiose in some ways energy. Um uh, but it's very creative as well, right? That's yeah, what I always say with that kind of placement. It's just like sometimes, like I've talked to the clients who are like, who agree with that. And they're, it's like they at some point the question of like how are you doing is, their answer is like linked to like how romance, and yeah, there can be like just shutting it down completely, right? But I think overall, like the healing work you do is obviously this goes for everyone, but like yeah, it's just very reflective of your relationships, success there. And even with South Node where it is, it's like it's so faded anyways, right? And like with the North Node in the first house, South Node in the seventh, like you have had relationships. I'll switch to plastics in a sec, but relationships have kind of been this big thing, right? Um, that they've been this relationships have been like this massive karmic go-to, right? And it could feel uncomfortable. It's interesting, right? To have Saturn there, right? Where it's like it's blocking the best relationships right now. But hold on. But at the same time, you're here to find yourself, right? So hold on, I need to like upload something like hold on. have to just upload this real quick. Alrighty, we are moving. Perfect. Yeah. So, where are we? Where are we? So, I was kind of saying, well, about yeah, Libra rising. I'll go back to that. Let's go past this. So yeah, I mean, overall, like, you know, what's interesting when I see like the second house Pluto, I think of someone. It's interesting how it lines up with the rest of like the karmic stuff, right? Because I think of someone who, could have had past incarnations where money was difficult, even though like, you have like that nodal energy, right? It is in the sixth house though, right? So the house of servants, like you never know, right? But um, yeah, I'm curious how this lines up because when I say second house Pluto, I feel like sometimes people with that they almost that's more Saturn. Yeah, it's like I like it's like there's past lives that were lived, you know, like I feel like there could have been some, past lives where you're super rich, super poor, right? But like really I'm focusing on like the poor. Imagine like the homeless person, like they're not able to focus on their spiritual growth because they're just thinking about where the next meal is coming from, right? So um it can kind of create like an energy where the person is like so like there can be like a lot of fears around like money and stuff like that, right? And those tend to go through lots of upheavals in life. Um, so when one, is in line with their inner values in a good way, I feel like that's when things really, really become good, when there's not like an obsession with that. Um, but yeah, you'll be a grinder, you like that's another workaholic potential, right? And invest there just like to grind so hard, but you have to remember your physical body too, right? That's what I was saying with the workout stuff, or just like having something where you're able to burn it off, burn off that energy. But yeah, I think like one thing is like with love is like making sure that your loved ones are on the same wavelength as you. Like the Libra can be such a giver, so kind, right? Um, but there's that need for that sharing, give and take being equal, right? And I think like Juno square moon, right? It can create that where it's like one's giving more than they're receiving. um so yeah, I mean it does highlight like that need for that warmth and that harmony, kind of very Libra type energy. um but it's like really making sure that you're nurturing yourself as much as you're nurturing any partner, right? um so yeah, I mean, in classes right now, we're looking at obviously 612. So that's yeah, that's what I got. Two, we have the same houses for nodes. And I the way I see it is like, actually no, they're opposite what we're talking about. Um, moving away, like allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to not be like so stuck in like the logic, right? Like this needs to work like this, like this, like this, like this. So um, but yeah, I think what you're doing, like 12th house north node is right on. And then like having like a Chiron there too, someone who can heal, I mean, obviously it speaks to like these very deep wounds. Um, but like the need to explore those areas, and that leads that person to be able to like not only heal themselves but heal other people on such a deep spiritual level. um and even Chiron like being in Libra, right back on relationships, it's like that's an imbalance in relationships, right? And how pain can come from those areas of life. um so I think, yeah, that also Chiron Libra could be, yeah, just like the parent figure, like the father, right? It could be linked to that, like just like kind of like suffering in that relationship. Um, but overall, Chiron in Libra is the counselor. It's a person who heals a lot and learns a lot through the relationship. So this is all over your chart, right? With the Saturn where it was. I guess it falls to the fifth house, interesting in Placis. Wow. But even fifth house Saturn is hold on, trade text. So yeah, obviously about fifth house Saturn. I think that like, as a South Node in Aries, like, yeah, I mean like North Node in Libra, it's like in the 12th house is so beautiful. Trey actually has that same thing. And I always kind of think of it as like trying to be able to convert, like put into words you know, like what like the what's the word, ineffable, what isn't able to be put into words, right? And make sense of that. Um, for people and really, really help guide people through massive shifts, massive changes, and being very, very tapped in and making a massive sacrifice. Like your life is really a big part of it is giving back. Um, really, really healing. Like it's just such a massive North Node 12th house, like so massive for healers. Um, and through that you really see yourself and feel yourself more importantly as a part of the greater whole that is, right? um and just like that move away from kind of like worthless stupid work to kind of like mindless work, to this real deep metaphysical work, right? um yeah, Saturn fifth house is, yeah, I mean that everything it can speak to, yeah, lack of fun early in life, not wanting to play. And like if your early life, right, Saturn, right, such a big part of your chart, it's like if it's in a position where you had to grow up fast, you couldn't really like have fun and enjoy and like lean into that Leo energy, and it maybe got shut down each time. It's like this whole like re-becoming a child in adult life, right? um so one thing I love about fifth house Saturn though is that because I have that in Placidus, is that I find that people with that are able to take what they do for fun and turn it into work, right? Like me in astrology, for example, right? I have Uranus and Neptune there as well, but um, yeah. So, and in areas like, yeah, I mean, that could just speak, yeah, even more to that fire energy being shut down. And fire is just the ability to just go and flow and just not have to think about things, just boom, I'm doing it, right? So I think that's just such a massive part of your chart, is like inner child work. I wish there's, I hate how it sounds. And so, yeah. But you have this grand trine, right? With Mars, Pluto, and Saturn. So, that it's in, it's like Trey's calling me. I don't know what he's calling. Hold on. Oh, what happened? What happened? Is it working? Okay, hold up. This. Oh, okay. Okay, here we are. Okay, test, test, test. No. I- Check, check, check. Okay, we're good. All right. So, anyways, as I was saying, I just had a little call. Yeah, so like, big picture, I mean, even the sun, you have like the aspects from Uranus and from Neptune. So, those are talents, right? And I think even if you look at Placidus 11th house, right? Um, that's just like I see these charts, right, where these are the people who are meant to be, you know, leaders of the new world. That sounds weird, but you know what I mean? Like people who are meant to really step into this age of Aquarius, this next generation, this next, like, you know, this next chapter for humanity. And I don't know. I just feel like with Uranus trine Sun, I mean, I always feel like people with that have like this insane amount of downloads, and they're able to really be themselves and branch out and be different in a way that isn't like offensive or odd to anyone else, to other people normally, right? And even having like Neptune or Mercury, not Neptune, your retrograde Mercury trining Neptune, like that's just like so psychic. And um so yeah, there's obviously like massive spiritual gifts in the chart, massive healing gifts. And then there's just so much continuity, like the ability to just like your Mars trine Saturn. Like, is there a better placement for someone who can just have like this long-term ability to like set goals and be with self-discipline, and just so good for career. So I think like the big thing is just like back to what I was saying before, like unlocking the Leo energy, through creative outlets, whatever it is. And like understanding, like with, yeah, like making what you do for fun your work. And yeah, like even with the Juno stuff, like we talked about that, just about how, yeah, someone who can match your energy. And I just think that, perhaps like just the Saturn, yeah, it's fifth house, seventh house in the whole sign, like that can just kind of make things a little bit I know so many clients who just had no luck in love, and then post Saturn return is just like a whole new game. Especially, yeah. So I think like with relationships, I think it's a complete parallel between everything with the upbringing, the parents, and getting past the interjects. But I think what you're doing now is like, what you've been doing, what you're continuing to do is like a lot of the inner work. Um, and um, it's annoying because you're at the final stretch. You're just like, how much more fucking patience do I need? But, overall, um, I don't know. I just feel like you're exactly where you need to be, not to sound cheesy. And if we look at your third house, just Placidus, right? You get the moon in Jupiter chilling there, right? I mean, like I said, where else would you want a Capricorn moon? That where the issues is being able to express oneself, like in the house of self-expression and learning, and that connects with your third house lower mind with all that, the ninth house kind of Sagittarian energy of truth and wisdom and all that. So I really think like that, reflects, and you have Uranus and Neptune there too, right? So it's just like mega creative and able to use your voice in a way that is, very, very unconventional and spiritual, and yeah, just really connect people, and just really like heal people at a very deep level. So yeah, just so like even like Sun sextile Pluto, it's like a major aspect, but it definitely can do some things, when it comes to willpower and just getting through whatever tough times. Um, and just like when you put your mind to something, it's just like boom, boom, boom. So, um, yeah, I just like the Jupiter on the moon and Capricorn. I just always think that's just that optimistic, like glass half full energy. So, yeah. Um, let's see here. Fucking 12th house north there with Chiron is wild. Aphrodite rising. That's one of Haley's. I know that one's all about beauty and kind of like princess beauty. I haven't really studied it, but um, oh yeah, and then you have the nebula. So you have the nebula, which is a fixed star that's all about like esoteric knowledge. It's like one of the three that Julian told me that was like really linked to like, you know, kind of yeah, esoteric, just like spirituality, like occult, getting beneath the surface, mysteries of life, and having that right on your Mercury exact. That just reinforces it even more. Like there's like three stars linked to astrology: Hydra, the nebula, Zosma, right? And to have the nebula right with Mercury is interesting. Um, yeah. Mm. Yeah, so I don't really see, I'm not seeing that many of my fixed stars or asteroids popping up, but yeah, I mean overall, I think it all makes sense to me. Um, Even like Palace and Scorpio, that's like that deep probing mind, like the strategist, the detective, the psychologist, right? Um, so Even Palace in the first, they talk about like defying conventional male female stereotypes, right? Um, and hmm, Vertex, I look at that more with like synastry, but like, yeah, in Gemini, I mean, communication, and just like doorway to higher awareness, eighth house through those intense experiences, death, rebirth, transformation, very Plutonian, um, and yeah, maybe some fate related to the sign Gemini, and just like with writing, with that third house, like teaching, writing, communicating, you know, even like Vertex and Gemini could be like yoga, dancing, stuff like that. Really getting lost in that energy. Um, so yeah. So yeah, I would say like, love, it's like, yeah, like a cat moon with Jupiter. Yeah, they just want that person that really understands them and that is consistent on some level who can, like I was telling you in Cosmos, like that person that can really like be a man, not a pussy. Um, and yeah, perhaps you just haven't met that person yet. I mean, I know you haven't. Um, and like even like yeah, Juno and Aries, like yeah, someone who yeah, like just someone who's not afraid to be themselves and give you freedom and maybe even help unlock kind of like with all your Venus, Mars, and Leo, like kind of a mix of that like serious foundations of the Capricorn where you can trust that person 1,000%, but then also just have a lot of fun and open up like the inner child energy through that. And then of course, North Node, you always want someone who, yeah, like with North Node and Libra, right? It's like, yeah, like learn like being able to compensate and find the right balance between independence and compensation and relationship. And 12th house could be like if you have a very spiritual karmic relationship in Libra, right? So I definitely think that with love, it's going to be all good. We talked about Vesta and Ceres and Sag, like just yeah, just really feeling it's like a second moon, but not as important, right? So it's like just that sense of adventure and freedom, right? And really like enjoying like being able to give in space and maybe yeah, like nurtured by people with similar ideals and philosophies. So and then second house, like, just like there's definitely stuff that's around, material and with the Jupiter and Cap. Like I'm not saying you're materialistic, but like yeah, I mean there's definitely I think success whenever I see Capricorn, Jupiter, like usually they're people who can really make something of themselves and expand that Capricorn energy and be that responsible, that elder, that person that is not elder, but you know what I mean, like that person that is the responsible one. So yeah. All right. Well, it is late as fuck. Oh my God. I did one at 90 minutes. This has been my dream, my success lately. I'm so proud. Um, but I don't think I left anything out. I'm trying to get my readings to 90 minutes now because 2 hours is just so long. 2 hours and 30 minutes. And when there's 3 hours, I was like, that's a rock bottom. Like even having South Node, yeah, with Juno, it's like there's just so many indications of past life lover and lovers. It's just Saturn, whole sign seventh. I feel like it's just holding that back. All right. that is all. Hope you enjoyed, and I'm gonna watch yours when I watch it, but I'm very thankful for it. And yeah, let me know what you think. You can tell I'm looking tired, so I'm gonna pass out, but happy I got it done tonight and talk to you later.